It started like a fairy tale, but within minutes, the internet was in chaos. Chrissy Lampkin stood in the center of a lavish rooftop celebration in downtown Miami, draped in diamonds, laughter echoing behind her. But what happened next left fans breathless. As Jim Jones stepped forward holding a small velvet box, cameras zoomed in, phones went live, and speculation exploded. Was this the moment fans had waited 2 decades for? Or was it just another headline in a relationship already known for public? Highs and painful lows? You see, Chrissy and Jim's love story isn't new. It's been aired, debated, and dissected for over 20 years. Engagement rumors, breakups, reconciliations, but this moment felt different. Jim's expression was unreadable. Chrissy looked stunned. And then, he opened the box. What was inside sent shockwaves through the crowd and set social media on fire. Some screamed, some cried, and others, they were furious. Was this finally a long overdue proposal? Or the ultimate letdown? Stay right here, because what unfolded after that box opened took a sharp left turn into family drama, explosive secrets, and a night that would change everything. As the velvet box sat in Jim Jones's hand, the rooftop air grew, heavy with anticipation. Chrissy Lampkin's eyes widened, not just because of the moment, but because of the decades of emotional baggage wrapped in that tiny box. People around them fell silent. The DJ cut the music. Phones went up. Even the Miami skyline seemed to pause. Jim looked at her, not with the excitement of a man proposing, but with something harder to read. Guilt, maybe? Or fear. For years, fans had begged for this. Chrissy, the woman who once proposed to Jim herself on national television, had waited for him to return the gesture. She had been patient. Too patient, some would argue. And now, as her 54th birthday unfolded in front of family, friends, and cameras, it looked like the moment had finally come. But just as Jim slowly opened the box, revealing something small and glittering, Chrissy's smile faltered. Her hand covered her mouth, but not in joy. It was confusion. A single breath passed. Then, "What is this?" she whispered, trying to keep her voice low, but the mic picked it up loud and clear. In the box was a diamond pendant. Expensive. Exquisite. But not a ring. The silence snapped. The crowd's initial cheer turned into an awkward murmur. Some guests glanced at each other, others turned their phones away in embarrassment. Chrissy blinked hard. She nodded politely, reached for the necklace, and hugged Jim. But it was stiff. Cold. Rehearsed. Jim chuckled awkwardly and muttered, "You know I got you, right?" Chrissy didn't answer. Instead, she turned to the crowd, raised the necklace, and forced a smile. "Thank you everyone for coming." But the moment was ruined. Backstage, behind the bar, Chrissy's friend Tina whispered to her fiancé, "Did he really just do that? On her birthday? After all these years?" On social media, fans were already reacting. Clips of the box opening spread like wildfire. The caption, "Proposal or not," trended within minutes. Instagram was split in half, some defending Jim's gesture, others dragging him through the mud. Back at the party, the energy had changed. Chrissy stood by the cake, surrounded by well-wishers, but her eyes kept darting toward the table where Jim sat with his boys, laughing and drinking like nothing happened. Archie, a mutual friend of the couple, approached her cautiously. "You okay?" he asked gently. Chrissy smiled tightly. "Do I look okay?" Archie shrugged. "No, you look like you want to throw that necklace off this rooftop?" She let out a dry laugh. "Maybe I should." Meanwhile, Jim remained unaware of how badly the moment had landed. Or maybe he knew and just didn't care. He nudged his brother Fred and whispered, "You think she wanted a ring?" "Come on, man. We've been through this." Fred gave him a look. "You already know she did. This was her big night. And you pulled out a chain?" Jim rolled his eyes. "Man, I ain't about to be pressured into no wedding because of the internet." But it wasn't the internet pressuring him. It was Chrissy. And it always had been. Later that evening, when most of the guests had left, Chrissy finally confronted him. They stood on the balcony overlooking the city, the string lights casting soft glows across their tired faces. "Why would you do that?" she asked, voice calm but trembling. "You knew what tonight meant." Jim leaned against the railing. "Babe, I gave you something beautiful, something real." "But not what I asked for," she shot back. "Not what I needed," he sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "Chrissy, I'm not ready for marriage. You know that. You always knew that. I used to think you'd change. Well, maybe you shouldn't have, he said, voice a little too sharp. She flinched. So all of this? All these years? What was it for? Jim didn't answer. Instead, he looked out over the city like he was hoping it had a better response than he did. Behind them, someone opened the balcony door. It was Tina, holding Chrissy's coat. They're waiting downstairs, she said. You want me to call your driver? Chrissy nodded slowly, her eyes never leaving Jim's. Yeah, it's time I went home. I thought this was home. He said, No, she replied softly. This was just a stop. Tina gave Jim a dirty look before following Chrissy out. The door shut behind them with a finality that didn't need to be explained. Inside, Fred watched from a distance. He'd seen his brother blow a lot of chances in life. But this one? This felt like the last straw. When Chrissy got into the car, she didn't cry, she didn't scream. She just stared out the window as the city lights blurred past her, thinking of all the years she'd waited for a man who never planned to follow through. But what neither of them knew, what was about to explode the next morning, was that someone had recorded their entire balcony conversation, and that video was already being uploaded by a party guest who had heard every word. What started as a disappointing gift was about to turn into a full-blown media firestorm, and this time, Chrissy wasn't going to protect him from it. The sun hadn't even fully risen when the internet detonated. Dozens of gossip pages uploaded a grainy, slightly shaky clip from the rooftop balcony. In the video, Chrissy's voice was clear. So was Jim's. The whole emotional confrontation played, out word for word. By 7 a.m., the hashtags #ChrissyWalks, Away, and Not Jim Jones Blown It were trending nationwide. The reaction was instant and brutal. Fans who had rooted for the couple through years of ups and downs felt betrayed on Chrissy's behalf. 20 years. And he still ain't ready? One tweet read. Chrissy deserves the world, not just a necklace, said another. Instagram stories flooded with memes, screenshots, and split-screen reactions. But the loudest response came from someone unexpected, Chrissy's cousin Marlene, who went live from her car, visibly furious. Let me tell you something, she began, hair wrapped and eyes fierce. My cousin stood by that man through thick and thin, gave up damn near everything for him. And he gonna embarrass her like that on her birthday? Nah, not today. Her live hit over 300K views within the hour. Jim, still half asleep, had no idea the storm was this loud. It was only when Fred burst into his living room with his phone in hand that the magnitude of it hit him. Yo, Fred said, not bothering with greetings. You need to get up. You're everywhere. Jim squinted. What you talking about? Fred tossed the phone on the couch. They posted the video, the whole balcony talk. It's viral. Jim rubbed his face. Man, what? Who posted it? Some dude at the party, one of the caterers or something. And Marlene's dragging your ass online. Jim grabbed the phone, eyes scanning the clip. He paused when he heard Chrissy say, No, this was just a stop. Something about hearing it outside the moment, playing on a stranger's screen, hit different. It wasn't just a breakup line. It was final. By mid-morning, TMZ picked up the story. Then Shade Room, then Baller Alert. Chrissy hadn't said a word online, but her silence only made the speculation louder. People filled in the blanks themselves. Some fans were heartbroken, others furious. But a few, especially older followers who'd watched the couple grow from their love and hip-hop debut, were just tired. She waited too long, someone commented under a post. He showed her who he was over and over. She chose to believe. Different. But Chrissy wasn't hiding. She just needed time. Around noon, she walked into her favorite salon in Harlem, trying to escape the noise, even for an hour. But even the stylists were whispering. Girl, I just saw that video, her longtime hairdresser Tasha said gently as she helped Chrissy into the chair. You okay? Chrissy nodded slowly. I'm tired, Tash. Not heartbroken, not mad, just tired. Tasha leaned in. You sure you done this time? Chrissy looked at herself in the mirror. I think the decision's finally been made for me. Meanwhile, Jim was in full damage control mode. He called his publicist, he called Fred, he even tried calling Chrissy. She didn't answer. Not the first time, not the second. He left a message. Yo, it's me. I saw everything. I know I messed up. I wasn't trying to hurt you, just Call me when you can. But she didn't. Instead, a new post appeared on her Instagram that afternoon. A photo of her standing in front of a huge window, looking out at the city. No caption, no explanation, but the necklace was nowhere in sight. Followers flooded the comments. Some begged her to give Jim another chance. Others encouraged her to walk away for good. You were the real one in that relationship. Let him watch. You shine without him. Later that night, as Jim scrolled through the comments under her photo, one message stood out. It read, "You didn't lose her today. You lost her years ago. You just finally noticed." The words hit hard. For the first time. Jim wondered if he really had taken Chrissy for granted all these years. The thing about time is, when you're in love, you think you have forever, but sometimes you only have until the other person gives up trying. Jim called his mother. Nancy Jones, better known to fans as Mama Jones, answered with her usual fiery tone. "What you do now, boy?" she asked. "No sugarcoating?" He sighed. "They dragging me all over the internet." "Well, maybe they should," she snapped. "Chrissy been holding you down for years. You think that woman gonna wait forever? You're lucky she didn't slap you with that necklace." "Mama." "Don't mama me. You always think you got time. You don't. One day, she gone. Really be gone, and you'll wake up alone." Her words stayed with him that night. More than the tweets, more than the video. The next morning, Jim made a decision. He didn't call his team. He didn't call Fred. He showed up at Chrissy's door. He had a real ring in his pocket. But Chrissy wasn't home. Instead, Tina opened the door, surprised to see him. "She went to Jersey," Tina said flatly. "Needed to clear her head." Jim stood there, unsure what to say. Unsure if he had already missed his last chance. "Can you tell her I came by?" he asked quietly. Tina gave him a look. Not angry, not pitying, just real. "I'll tell her," she said, "but I don't know if it'll matter anymore." As Jim walked back to his car, he realized something for the first time in a long time. This wasn't just about the necklace. This was about everything. Every delay, every excuse. Every moment he thought she'd wait just a little longer, but time had run out. And now, the one woman who loved him through it all might finally be gone for good. Jim didn't sleep that night. The silence in his condo was louder than any argument they'd ever had. He played their old videos, scrolled through their memories online, and kept checking Chrissy's page for a post that never came. She hadn't blocked him, but she hadn't responded either, and somehow, that felt worse. Early the next morning, Jim got a call from Fred. But this time his voice wasn't annoyed or casual. It was serious. "Bro, you need to see this," Fred said. "Right now. Go on the shade room." Jim didn't even ask questions. He opened the app and there it was. A blurry paparazzi shot of Chrissy Lampkin walking out of a luxury cafe in Jersey City, arm in arm with a tall, well-dressed man. The headline beneath it read, "Chrissy seen with mystery man just days after rooftop fallout, rebound or revenge." Jim's stomach dropped. His first reaction wasn't anger, it was disbelief. Who was the guy? Chrissy never moved like that, and definitely not publicly. Something wasn't right. He dialed her number again. No answer. Then he texted, "Seriously? You out with somebody already?" Still, no response. Social media went nuclear. Fans posted side-by-side pictures. "This ain't no random man. That's Marcus, her ex from before Jim." People dug up old footage from a 2004 interview where Chrissy had briefly mentioned a past relationship that almost pulled her away from New York. Twitter exploded. Jim fumbled a queen, and now her ex came to claim what he couldn't commit to. Meanwhile, Chrissy stayed silent. She posted nothing, no quotes, no selfies, nothing to deny or confirm the rumors. And in doing so, she controlled the story better than if she'd said a word. Jim paced his living room, furious. Not at her, at himself. He called Fred again. "You think she's doing this to hurt me?" Jim asked. Fred didn't hold back. "I think she's doing it to heal. You embarrassed her in front of the world, man. What did you think would happen?" Jim clenched his jaw. "I was gonna propose, the next day." Fred laughed, bitter and low. "Too late. You can't backtrack a necklace mistake with a delayed ring. That's not how love works." The next day, Jim made a bold move. He went live on Instagram, something he rarely did, and addressed the world. His tone was raw, tired. Even his fans noticed the shift. "Look, man, I know I messed up," he said into the camera. "I never claimed to be perfect. And Chrissy, she's everything, always has been. I should have handled her birthday different. I should have been better." Comments poured in instantly. Some praised his honesty. Others called it damage control. But the moment that broke the internet came near the end of the live. Jim held up a ring, a real one. "This was supposed to be hers," he said quietly. "Still is, if she wants it." The live ended, and within minutes, "Me are Jim Jonies." Apologizes trended worldwide, but back in Jersey, Chrissy saw it too, and for the first time in days, her face softened. Tina was in the kitchen when she heard Chrissy sigh. "What is it?" Tina asked, wiping her hands. Chrissy held up her phone. "He went live. With the ring." Tina frowned. "You believe him?" Chrissy shook her head slowly. "I don't know what to believe anymore." Later that night, Chrissy finally picked up his call. "Hey," she said, voice guarded. "Thank you for answering," Jim said. There was silence between them for a moment. Then Chrissy asked, "Was that video for me or for your fans?" "It was for you," he said. "But I guess I needed the world to hear it too." Chrissy sighed. "You humiliated me, Jim. You don't get to fix that with a ring and a live stream." "I know," he said, "but it's all I've got. And I'm trying." "Then maybe," she replied, "you should try being quiet and listening instead." And she hung up. The next morning, a new story broke. Not a rumor, not a fan theory, but a leaked message, screenshots of a text conversation between Jim and a woman named Keisha, someone from his past, surfaced online. The messages weren't romantic, but they hinted at recent contact. "You still thinking about what we talked about last summer?" One text read, "Fans lost it." Was Jim two-timing? Was Chrissy right to walk away? The internet flipped again. This time with Chrissy back in the victim's seat and Jim under fire. Jim immediately posted, "Those messages are old and misleading. I never cheated on Chrissy. Stop spreading lies." But the damage was done. Again, Chrissy posted a single message to her Instagram story. "A ring means nothing if the heart's still in the streets." Boom. Viral again. Mama Jones went live later that afternoon, furious at whoever leaked the messages. "People trying to ruin my son, but let me tell you something. He loves that woman. He just don't always show it right." But fans were done with the excuses. "Chrissy is too grown for this," one comment read. "She needs peace, not potential." The next time Chrissy and Jim saw each other face to face, it wasn't in private. It was backstage at a charity event they had committed to months before. Neither of them backed out. The tension backstage was thick. They hadn't spoken in days. Jim approached her slowly. "You look amazing," he said. Chrissy nodded. "Thanks. Can we talk?" "Later," she said. "Let's just get through tonight without another scandal." Jim nodded. But the look in his eyes said it all. He was losing her. Not to another man, not to the media, but to time. And all. The chances he wasted. The charity gala had all the glitz and polish of a Hollywood premiere, string lights, champagne flutes, celebrities, and flashing cameras. But behind the curtain, it felt like a ticking time bomb. Chrissy and Jim hadn't rehearsed their public reunion. They were scheduled to present an award together, live, in front of a full crowd and thousands more watching online. As they stood, side by side backstage, the silence between them was louder than any argument they'd ever had. "You ready?" Jim asked quietly. Chrissy didn't answer at first. Then, still facing the curtain, she muttered, "I've been ready for everything you never showed up for." Before Jim could respond, the stage manager called, "30 seconds!" They walked out to applause that neither of them heard. Chrissy wore a fitted black gown, regal and composed. Jim had cleaned up in a tailored gray suit. They looked like a power couple, but the space between them said otherwise. When the host introduced them as hip-hop royalty, Chrissy's eyes flicked sideways. Jim gave a tight smile. It was all show. As they stood at the podium, Jim spoke first. "We're honored to be here tonight," he began, voice steady. "This cause means a lot to both of us. Giving back, showing up for the community." Chrissy's turn came next. "And sometimes, showing up isn't just about being present, It's about being accountable. To your people, to your promises, and to the ones you claim to love. A ripple went through the crowd. Jim blinked slowly, trying not to react. Chrissy kept going like nothing happened. Tonight, we're presenting the Strength and Unity Award. 2 words that don't just sound good together. They require action, commitment, follow-through. The subtext was louder than her mic. They handed over the award, posed for photos, and exited the stage. But once behind the curtain, the gloves came off. What the hell was that? Jim snapped. You used a live mic to take shots at me? No, Chrissy said coolly. I used a mic to say what I've been swallowing for years. So you're just gonna air our business like that? Like you didn't do that when, you handed me a necklace in front of half of Miami? She shot back. A staffer glanced at them nervously, pretending not to listen. Jim lowered his voice. I'm trying to fix this. Too late, she said, walking away. I've already started fixing myself. The next morning, clips of Chrissy's speech circulated with the caption, Chrissy throws shade at Jim Jones during live award. Presentation. Fans called it classy, savage, long overdue. But while the world cheered her on, Jim sank deeper into himself. Mama Jones came to visit that afternoon. She didn't knock. She never did. Boy, you better get it together, she said the second she walked in. This woman is slipping through your fingers. I know that, Jim muttered. Then do something about it. He looked up. I tried. She don't want to hear it. Because you waited too damn long, Mama Jones snapped. You think love's a revolving door? It's not. Eventually, the door locks. He sat in silence, staring at the floor. What? Do I even say anymore? He asked finally. The truth, she said, and maybe stop talking and start listening. Meanwhile, Chrissy had gone radio silent again. No posts, no appearances. Not even Tina knew what she was planning next. But then, on a quiet Tuesday afternoon, she broke her silence. Chrissy went live, not from a studio, not from an event, but from her living room. No makeup, no filter, just her. The numbers shot up instantly. Over 100K people joined in minutes. I wasn't gonna say anything, she began. But since the whole world's been in our relationship, here's the truth. She spoke calmly, honestly, without drama. I've loved Jim for a long time, longer than most people stay married. I stood by him when cameras stopped rolling, when music faded, when friends disappeared. She paused, blinked away tears. But love without growth becomes pain, and I got tired of hurting. She didn't bash him. She didn't gloat. She just spoke like a woman who had finally reached her limit. So no, she continued, this isn't about a ring, it's about respect, about being seen, heard, valued. The comments exploded with support. Fans called it powerful, healing, brave. Jim watched the whole thing from his couch, frozen. When she finished and signed off, he stared at the screen like she was still there. Then his phone rang. It was Fred. You see that? Fred asked. Jim didn't answer. That was a goodbye, bro, Fred said quietly. A real one. Later that night, Jim took a drive. Not to a studio, not to his boy's place, to Chrissy's old apartment, the one they'd lived in back when love and hip-hop first aired. It had been years since he'd been there. The building had new lights, a new tenant, but the memories hit like a punch to the chest. He sat in the car, stared at the steps they once shared, and finally let the truth hit him. He hadn't just lost her. He'd never really tried to keep her. The next morning, Chrissy sat on her balcony with a cup of black coffee, watching the city move beneath her like a machine she no longer felt part of. There was something peaceful about the silence after a storm, when everyone else had moved on, but you were still sitting in the wreckage, quietly sifting through what remained. Her phone buzzed. Tina again. You okay? The message read. Chrissy didn't respond, not because she was avoiding her, but because she didn't know how to answer anymore. How do you explain the feeling of loving someone who's always just one step behind your needs? Meanwhile, Jim was having his own reckoning. For the first time in years, he didn't have a plan. No grand gestures, no rings, no social media statements. He just sat in the middle of his living room floor, surrounded by old photo albums and DVDs. Memories of a time when it was all so simple. when Chrissy smiled with her whole face, when they laughed until their stomachs hurt, before the pressure, before the cameras, before the waiting wore her down. He picked up a picture from their first vacation together in Jamaica. She was in a sun hat, holding a coconut, mid-laugh. He stared at it for minutes, then finally stood up. That evening, Chrissy received a package at her door. No note, no sender. She hesitated at first, but opened it slowly. Inside was the Jamaica photo, framed, slightly worn, but behind it, something else. A flash drive. Chrissy sat down, plugged it into her laptop, and hit play. The screen lit up with a grainy video, clearly filmed on an old camcorder. It was Jim, years younger, sitting on the beach, talking to whoever was holding the camera. "You know, I think she's the one," he said, pointing toward where Chrissy was walking in the distance. "Like, for real. I don't know how to do this love thing, right? But I'm learning." She paused the video, covered her mouth, then let it play again. The next clip was more recent. Jim speaking directly to the camera in what looked like his studio. "If you're watching this, Chrissy, it means I finally found the courage to shut up and let my heart speak." He took a deep breath. "I can't fix the years I wasted. I can't undo the hurt. But I still believe in us. And if you don't, I'll still love you anyway." Chrissy sat frozen. Tina called moments later. "Girl, did you get it?" Chrissy didn't speak. "You're crying, aren't you?" Tina asked softly. Chrissy wiped her face, voice barely above a whisper. He remembered. The next morning, Chrissy posted something no one expected. A picture of the beach photo framed and sitting on her desk. No caption, no ring, but fans knew what it meant. Within minutes, the internet was on fire. Are they back together? What does this mean? Jim Jones' redemption arc? But Chrissy wasn't interested in letting the world decide anymore. She texted Jim 3 words. "Let's talk soon." He stared at the message for almost 10 minutes before replying. "Just tell me where." They met 2 days later in a quiet park in Queens. No cameras, no fans, no statements. Chrissy sat on a bench. Jim walked up slowly, holding nothing in his hands for once. No gift, no ring, no plan. "Hi," he said. "Hi." He sat down beside her. The silence stretched, but this time, it didn't feel heavy. Just honest. "I saw the video," she said, after a long pause. He nodded. "I figured it was the only way you'd hear me without me messing it up." She smiled faintly. "It was the only time you ever got it right." They both laughed, soft and tired. "So," Jim began. "Where do we go from here?" Chrissy looked out at the trees. "I don't know, but maybe we start with no expectations, no promises. Just us?" he asked. "Just us," she confirmed. "And if we ever make it back, it'll be because we grew into it, not because we forced it." Jim leaned back, finally exhaling. No titles, no timelines, just 2 people sitting in the aftermath of what was and what might still be possible. That night, Chrissy posted one more thing, a short video of the framed photo and the flash drive next to each other on her shelf. The caption, the beginning of something honest. So after 2 decades of love, loyalty, and public heartbreak, Chrissy Lampkin and Jim Jones didn't walk away with a proposal. They walked away with something more rare in the world of reality TV. Real honesty. And maybe that's what we all wanted all along. Not just the perfect moment. Not just a ring. But the truth. The growth. The uncomfortable conversations that relationships are really built on. Because let's be real. You've been watching their journey since season 1. You've seen the fights, the makeups, the silent treatments, the grand gestures, and the missteps. And now, you've seen what happens when patience runs out but love still lingers. But the question still stands. Will Jim Jones really change? Or is this just another moment in a long cycle of almosts and Chrissy? Has she truly forgiven? Or is she choosing peace over closure? Only time will tell. But here's what we know right now. The chapter isn't closed. And this story, it's far from over. So what do you think? Is Chrissy making the right choice by giving space instead of shutting the door? Should Jim keep fighting or let her go? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear everything. And if you're new here, Hit that subscribe button, because the drama, the truth, and the behind-the-scenes stories, they never stop. Not in this world. Tap like if you felt that moment when Chrissy said, "I got tired of hurting." Share this video if you've ever waited on love that just wouldn't grow up. And remember, love may not come with a ring, but it always comes with a choice. What would yours be? Stay tuned. We're just getting started.